9 of the Silver Screen Scarehouse with Lisa and Linnie. I'm your host, Lisa, and with me, of course, is my long-lost sister, Linnie.
Hello!
Woo-hoo! When you come to the Scarehouse, we'll be reviewing 3 movies, and we may not always agree, but as lifelong film fanatics, you'll get honest opinions from 2 different sides of the aisle, followed by an old-fashioned knives up, knives down final rating. This week, Linnie and I are going to be talking about Poltergeist, the remake, Ladies of the House, and Ghoulies 3. So let's start with Poltergeist, the much maligned remake of the 1982 classic. It stars Sam Rockwell and Rosemary DeWitt. And, you know, it's a family's home is being overtaken by evil spirits, and they're going to have to fight if they want to save their youngest daughter from all these ghosts that are trying to take her. Now, I grew up with the original. I love it. I love it. I love it. I watched it last night. It still scares me. It's still effective for me. Linnie, however, never saw the original.
I have not. And I feel like that actually was probably a good thing.
I think it was too.
Yeah, I think that made a big difference.
So I want you to talk about Poltergeist 2015.
Well, slap my ass and call me Judy. I actually liked it. I don't know if it was because I haven't seen the original or because I just liked it. That remains to be seen. I will probably make myself watch the original soon. For me, the cast was mostly the reason why I liked it. I loved Jared Harris, who plays the medium in the remake, as opposed to the tiny lady from the original. I love Jane Addams, who is the paranormal researcher, psychologist. Rosemary DeWitt, who's normally an indie actress. It was really interesting to see her in something this big budget. Sam Rockwell's always amazing, though I would have preferred that he dance a little more in this movie. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was all about the cast. They were great. The chemistry between the parents was totally believable. I loved their moments together. I loved the chemistry between Jane Addams and Jared Harris. I thought the kids weren't obnoxious. I mean, that's always a huge stopping point for me, is when the kids are annoying. I rewatched Pet Sematary the other night, and I forgot how annoying the daughter was.
She's the worst.
Oh, it's so annoying. It's so distracting. So that's a big problem for me, and I thought that especially the little girl and the little boy were so sweet and so relatable, especially being a kid myself that was a very nervous, afraid of everything child. I could relate to the way he was. The CGI, I was not a fan of. There were a few moments in the Poltergeist world that were a little interesting, but for me, the best part was the lights that tempted Maddie, the little girl, into the closet. I thought that was really pretty. But yeah, the CGI was a real problem for me. I didn't enjoy it at all. The collapsing of the house was really cool. That looked very practical. So I appreciated that. But yeah, overall, it was just, I found that the actors were really believable, and that to me makes a huge difference. Again, I'm not comparing it to anything, so I think for me, the updated technology, I know that's been bugging a lot of people, but for me, it worked. The daughter using the cell phone to kind of track the sounds in the house, the flat screen TVs using the drone to try to track down the little girl in the Poltergeist world. I don't know, it's not going to be on my top 10 list. It's not a movie I would see again in the theater, but it is a perfectly entertaining, acceptable summer horror film. Anybody that's like crapping all over it is probably being a little too nitpicky, but as we tend to be as horror lovers, and as well within our rights. But for me, it did the trick. So.
Well, I think everything you said is spot on. And I think that's why those of us who grew up with it are having the issues are with it being updated. Like, obviously in the original, you don't get to go into the other spiritual world, and in this one you do. And so for a hot second, I thought, that's really cool. But then, that takes me back to less is more, and it's scarier to wonder where I'm sorry, she'll always be Carol Ann to me, where Carol Ann was. Then for them to show me after a while, I was like, oh. And like you said, I was much the same. I was terrified of every single thing, even my shadows. So that little boy was adorable. And I don't know if it was my hormones, but I started crying when he took responsibility for going to find his sister.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Both of the children were good. And even the token annoying teenage daughter was not annoying. Everybody was lovely. And I don't know, Rosemary DeWitt, she'll to me always just be Don Draper's mistress, but
I've never seen Mad Men. I only know her from Your Sister's Sister and Touchy Feely. Like, she is a mumblecore goddess to me. That is literally all I know her from.
Oh, interesting.
See, the cool one of the parts that I loved the part with the little girl where she was in shadow form. Like, she was running through the rooms in shadows. That had I loved the Peter Pan feel to that. But yeah, anytime it got very good, I can't even think to compare what the Poltergeists look like. It was like a cross between a zombie and the Mole Men in The Descent. It was very strange. I didn't have a problem with it, I guess, because, again, I wasn't comparing it to the original. I didn't mind them going in there, especially when it was the two kids in there in the end. That was really unsettling. But it was a little cheesy in parts. Somebody on Twitter said that to them the scariest part was a scene where a drill bit keeps coming through the wall towards one of the paranormal researchers' head. And that was really unsettling. And there was no CGI involved in that scene. So I think it's definitely a lesson in the fact that, practical effects will always win out over CGI, especially when you're a seasoned horror goer and not just a big budget horror watcher.
I think, yeah, the practical is what's better. When you watch the original, I feel like I'm the one to speak for the original versus this one. A lot of it was actually scarier. The tree in the original one, scary, actually eats the child. The clown in the original one was of my nightmares for many, many years. This clown was annoying.
I wasn't even scared of the clown. I jumped once. And my clown phobia is well known. I only jumped one time when I think it sat upright at one point and the face changed. That was the only time I jolted. Otherwise, I just found that moving nose thing annoying.
Stupid. And how long was the string on that stupid nose?
Yeah, that was a little insane.
It was dumb. I liked the modernization of bringing in a reality show guy was smart, and like using the drone was smart, and as you said, the teenage daughter using her iPhone, that was smart. I liked those modernizations of it, but I think they could have just stuck with the old school when it came to the ghosts and everything else.
Yeah.
And it would have been a lot better. It was not a bad film. And I'm really glad that you hadn't seen the original because I knew you were going to like it because it is good. It's a good story. It's interesting and it's fun. But it is one of those times where the original is better. And, I try to be really open about remakes.
Right.
The original's better.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a rare case in which any sort of update of a film like that is ever going to be better. But I think if you're shooting for passable, that's really the best you can do. And in this case, it is definitely an adequate remake.
Adequate. You know what? It's a really good horror film for this time of year. We're in summer, and I think our standards are a little lower.
Exactly. If you're looking for good and big budget, you've got Jurassic World coming out. I'm hearing really negative things from most of the people I know that are going to Insidious 3. So if you're looking for something that's, it's a remake, but it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's something a little more interesting, it's not the worst you can do. It's big budget, it's popcorn, knock yourself out, stop being so picky, just go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two Knives Up.
It might be fun. If you've never seen it, absolutely go. The girls next to you were just terrified. If you've seen the original, go for research. Just go. Settle down.
Yeah.
Knife Up for me, because I think it's totally worth it. Yeah,
Knife Up for me, too. So, awesome. Not the worst movie I've seen this year by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, thank goodness. Okay.
And that is a low bar, let me tell you.
Wow, exactly.
All right, next up is John Stewart Wildman's The Ladies of the House. A birthday outing turns into a fight for survival when two brothers and a friend become trapped in a house owned by a family of malevolent women. I've already gone on record as calling this my favorite movie of 2015. I have a feeling that will probably stay true with the amount of movies I'm watching and how good they are. So, Lisa, I'm going to let you talk first.
I thought this movie was really pretty. I liked that it was all kind of in bright jewel tones. I liked that it was female centric and that they weren't victims necessarily. I liked the gore a lot. The gore really, really worked for me. There was only one moment where I thought, skin isn't going to just come off like that, but I'll let it go.
Out of context, that is an amazing comment.
And also, it was, I don't know, I mean, butchering, I think, is a really difficult job, and it was hard for me at times to accept that cute little girl wearing, by the way, a hairstylist apron. I used to have one. Just as butchering everybody without even breaking a sweat, and I liked it. I wanted to love it, but my problem was I could tell that despite the fact it was a female movie and we love women and females are awesome, I still knew it came from a man.
It was co-written by a woman. It was directed by a man, but it was co-written by a woman.
That is not enough for me, apparently.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, yeah, I reviewed this a few weeks ago. For me, it was everything that I look for in a revenge film. It was kind of that Thelma and Louise camaraderie between a group of women that they're not really so much strippers as they own or work in a burlesque kind of, I don't know. They never really define them as strippers per se, even though the douchey guy keeps calling them that. I like that really only one of the quote-unquote villains is purely villainous. You have these three guys that go into this house owned by these women. They kill one of the women, and then they get trapped in when the other women come home and find all this out. And I really liked that you're kind of torn because one of the men is established early on as being kind of slow. So for me, it was always very the push and pull of, oh my God, am I comfortable with what they're doing to him? Is he really responsible? But man, he was really down with what he was doing. So there were no straight lines in terms of who was a villain. Only one of the men is portrayed as a straight up douchebag. I mean, you have the man that's really not a bad guy. He was just kind of a guy trapped in a terrible situation. So I like that it wasn't portraying men as, oh my God, we hate men. That was really important to me. And I loved the women. I thought they were gorgeous in a completely non-traditional horror way. I mean, they were very rockabilly, tattooed, not a blonde among them, which is rare. Like you said, I loved the color palette. It was beautiful. Very 50s, June Cleaver look to it all. And the way they were so protective of each other was really lovely. I loved the girl whose name I'm blocking on now, of course. The younger one that was still very interested in having her own male plaything in the house. She was so focused on keeping that one man with them while they're feeding him his accomplices. It's such a rich film for me that even if there were flaws, which there are, almost every film has flaws unless you're Citizen Kane. I feel like they're not enough to overshadow how much I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I felt like it was an I Hate Men movie.
Really? See, I didn't get that at all. What made you think that?
Because it was, this is what dudes do, and both of them are just going to listen to the token, type A guy. And I don't like when they use someone a little bit slower to make you wonder whether or not it's okay that he's trying to rape somebody. It's not. I don't care. You don't do this. You don't do this behavior. And if I had to hear one more time about how strippers are sluts and that they're whores and they need to do this, it was like, I get it. You guys don't enjoy men who perceive women this way. I got the memo. And then it just kept going. And then I feel like if the tables had been turned, people would be irritated because the women do keep a gimp. They have a man that they keep for funsies, I guess. And then the fact that the young lady is literally keeping one of them as a toy. If it was reversed, we would be much more incensed about it. So I guess that's what didn't work for me. And I appreciated that there was no rhyme or reason, that these ladies were just badass bitches with really great hair and makeup.
Right.
And, they're cannibals. That's great. Get on with yourself. But I didn't understand why I had to keep having hit over the head that men are dumb. But we're allowed to keep them in cages, and we're allowed to speak down to them, and we're allowed to keep them as playthings. They just aren't allowed to do it to us because then that's misogynistic.
I get that. I think I was looking at it more from the point of, even though we never got the story on the guy in the cage, I'm sorry, I think about it and I can't explain why I found it hilarious, but I did. Sorry, not sorry. It cracked me up. No, but I felt like the kind of voice of reason male was kind of the line, the one that was showing that, not every guy is a douchebag, and that's probably why he got to hang around as long as he did, was because, and yeah, she kept him as a toy, and the ending is very ambiguous. You kind of don't know what happens at the end. I don't know if they're setting it up to make more or not, but for me, the politics of it are, it's so rare that we get a film that does turn the tables like this, because all the time we see movies where the tables are turned, where women are subjugated and tied up and tortured and turned into playthings. So for this film to kind of turn the tables like that and make it about a family of women, and not just women, but of a couple, like two of the women are together, they're for all intents and purposes married. It's just an interesting take on a trope in horror that we've been seeing for years, the cannibal family, but then taking it and twisting it so it's just women. And this really isn't something that we see very often. So yeah, if it were flipped, we'd be incensed, but that's because that's what we see all the time, especially for me watching revenge films so often. It's not that unusual for the tables or for it to be flipped the other way. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much.
I think that's why I expected more from it, because all they did was reverse gender roles, but nothing really new was said. And the guy, just because he wasn't a douchebag, got to live. He got to live because he was a namby-pamby baby that didn't even try to escape. So he was he was emasculated. That's why he lived. It's just nothing. There was nothing about turning the gender roles around that spoke to anything new or interesting. So that was disappointing for me. But I did love seeing all these women, and they were cool, and none of them were victims. Well, except for the one that dies. But I don't know. Maybe I expected too much because you loved it so much.
It could be my fault. I set the bar really high on that one. No, I think it's also going to, your opinion of this movie is definitely going to be colored by what you come to the table with when you watch it. I mean, after a while, I get very burned out on seeing the reverse so often that I am going to munch up like a cookie monster, gender roles reversed. It's a nice switch for me. So it just made me happy. And I especially responded to all of the little touches, like the color palette, the the design, all of it. I thought it was interesting. And I thought the acting was really brilliant. I thought, especially for not a lot of tested actors, I thought it was really a well-performed film. Yeah, I think it's a movie that you kind of have to see. I don't necessarily believe that, anyone's going to hate it. I think you have to see it and form your own opinions on it.
Yeah, and you're right. There is a lot of love put in this movie, and that's really obvious, and I always really appreciate that. There was no detail that was missed.
Exactly. I mean, the set design on this movie is just flawless. Like, I would rewind it and watch scenes again just to see all of the little touches, especially in the kitchen. I mean, it's just beautiful. Like, I want that house. I don't care where they live. I want it. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, I agree with you. I think people should see it, but that's why I'm taking a sideways knife, because part of me wants to be angered by some of it.
That's totally fair.
I can't champion it, but I do think everyone should see it.
That's fair. And it's obviously a massive knife up for me, because I loved it. So see it, form your own opinions, and please let us know what you think of it, because we would love to hear.
Oh, yeah, please.
So,
I'm glad that we're so different about it. I actually have avoided reading anything that you wrote about it, too, because I thought I'm going to try to go into this as empty as possible.
Good decision. Yeah, I'm glad. It was a good conversation. Nice. 2 different opinions. See, this is why you tune in, people. Now, completely changing the conversation to the art film known as Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
Everyone's favorite troublemakers, they're on the loose. That's
Jesus.
the tagline. Listen, it's called Ghoulies Go to College, so clearly I have to watch this movie. There's not even a plot. We all know the Ghoulies come out of the toilet, so clearly they're going to come out of the toilet the third time and go to college, and they make really dumb jokes, and it's stupid and offensive, and it gives you the giggles.
It's like Porky's, but with the 3 Stooges of toilet monsters.
That's exactly what it is.
That's all I kept thinking. I'm like, these are the 3 Stooges of toilet monsters. They are literally doing 3 Stooges gags, like the eye, the fingers, and the eyes. And I have never seen Ghoulies 2, so I was really worried that I was missing out on some overarching Ghoulies story, but it really didn't matter, apparently, because they are not dependent on one another.
Oh no. It's a dumb movie. As far as third installments go, Ghoulies 3 leaps and bounds better than Human Centipede 3. So that's a knife up for me.
That is a low bar indeed. Yeah, I have said before that I am not a fan of the gross out stupid horror comedy, but I do appreciate it when a gross out stupid horror comedy knows exactly what it is. And damned if this movie doesn't know. I mean, it knows what it is.
It revels in what it is.
It does. Though I was really shocked by that incredibly meta Marshall Wallace joke.
Yeah.
Like, that was surprising.
That was definitely, you're going to age yourself on that one, too.
Yeah, that was about 3 steps above the intelligence level of Ghoulies 3.
Now I wonder how she ended up in that. They're like, we'll put you in here if we talk about Bob Newhart.
And then we're going to choke you to death with your own tongue.
Right, well,
Yeah, as you do.
I got puppets coming out of the toilet, so.
Yeah. It's one of, you just can't cut it down. See, for me, like, when I said I hated Zombievers, I did, because I felt like, it's Zombievers, but maybe there's going to be, like, a little, it might be clever, it might elevate itself a little bit, there might be something about it that makes it not a sci-fi film, but it didn't do that for me, and because of that, I just couldn't enjoy it. But this, it gets it.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was the plunger to the face moment. that it gets it. You can't do that to a human face, but it does not care. It just does not care. Reality does not apply in the world of the Ghoulies.
No. Shockingly enough, no.
Yeah.
No logic. I think this is really good, like a palate cleanser, you know?
You've just watched something really intelligent and hard to comprehend. Now watch Ghoulies.
Yeah, and then you're like, yay!
And what was with the guy with the go-kart, or the golf cart? What was his problem?
I don't know, maybe because, I don't know. Nothing made sense. It was stupid. There's Future, because it's from 1991. Future soap stars are in it. It's just, classy all the way around.
Wow. That is good information to have. Yeah, I mean, I can't not give it a knife up, because, if you're watching Ghoulies Go to College, you're already there, people,
Yeah, no, exactly. It's called Ghoulies Go to College. So you either like these movies or you don't. And if you don't watch it and bitch about it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't care what we think. You're going to watch it anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's rad.
It gets a knife up from me, because what the hell's the difference?
Awesome. I didn't think I'd get that. Yay! 2 knives up. Ghoulies 3. Ghoulies Go to College. It's available on Netflix.
Yay. 2 knives up for the toilet monsters.
All right. Well, thank you, Darklings, for joining us for an episode of the Silver Screen Scarehouse. If you'd like to chat with us about any of the movies that we reviewed today, you can find Linnie on Twitter.
I am at Linnie Loohoo, LINNIE LOOWHO.
Or you can find me at LCFREMONT. And if you have a movie that you would like for us to queue up in the Scarehouse, drop us a comment below or let us know on Twitter. And stay stabby.